Hi, Bruce.
Hi, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too. So, as more people follow presidential elections than local elections, they are not aware of concept of runoff. Can you explain what runoff elections are?
Sure. Last March, we had primary elections in the Democratic and Republican Party to select the nominees to run for various offices from president down to a constable. And there are several races on both sides where nobody got 50%. And when nobody gets 50% of the vote, it goes to a runoff election. And normally the runoff election would be at the end of May, but because of the COVID-19 health crisis, the governor extended the runoff until July 15th. And so we will be having a runoff election in the middle of the summer.
So, so how are we? What measures are we taking for this runoff elections in this COVID situation?
Well, in my mind, not enough. I really think that the state ought to allow everyone to be able to vote by mail with no excuses, and that hasn't happened at this point. And the state is actually opposing that. There's a court case pending right now. Most states in the country allow their citizens to the choice of voting by mail. And you can vote by mail or you can go to the polling place, but it's your choice. In Texas, to be able to vote by mail, you have to be 65 or older, you have to be disabled, or you have to swear that you're going to be out of the county. And historically, those have been the only exceptions for voting by mail. And I think that there's a phrase in the elections code that allows anyone who's concerned about their health and safety to be able to choose to vote by mail, but that's currently being litigated in court.
When do you think is the court going to need to decide, like what the time frame for that?
I think the courts are going to decide pretty quick. What the election administrators are asking is that they be given clarity, because right now there's not clarity. A lot of people think that they can vote by mail, but the state hasn't given clear guidance, and it's important that the court tell all the election administrators exactly what the law is and what people can and cannot do. And I think that that'll come pretty quick because they have to start sending out mail ballots for the July runoff election pretty soon.
Okay, so you said the date for runoff is July 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if somebody is not registered to vote yet, and if they register to vote right now, can they vote in runoff election right now or not?
Yes, in Texas, you can register to vote 30 days before an election. And so you'd be able to register to vote right up until June 15th for the July runoff. And given the restrictions on our movement right now, the way you can register to vote is you can either go to the Secretary of State's website, sos.gov, and print out a voter registration application, fill it out, and mail it in. Or if you're changing your address within the same county, updating your address, you can go to sos.gov and update your address online. Or you can go to registertovote.org, and you can complete the application online. They will print it out, mail it to you for your signature, and send you a postage paid envelope so you can mail it back to them. So registertovote.org is another way you can register to vote.
So when are the runoff election results going to be announced?
When are the elections going to be announced?
Like results? Because
the results?
Yeah.
Well, the results will be announced the evening of the election. And if you go to the county clerk's website, you can see the results in pretty much real time. And I imagine the news stations will be covering the election results too. Typically, on an election night, the first votes that come in are all the people who voted early. And usually that's about half the vote. And so at 7 o'clock when they post the early vote, unless the races are pretty close, you can kind of tell who's probably going to win.
Okay. So previously, how many people, like in the runoff elections, how many people show up as compared to the primaries?
Very few. We had, I think in the primary election, maybe 35% turned out, which is decent for a primary election. I think it's kind of pathetic because most people didn't vote. and this is a right and a responsibility. In runoff elections, typically the turnout is anywhere from 5 to 10%. And so 90 to 95% are going to delegate that responsibility to the 5 or 10% of us who bother to vote. And that's not the way democracy is supposed to work. We're all supposed to be part of this and help guide how we want our community and country to go.
I agree. Yeah, we all need to come out and vote.
Yeah.
So you said the mail-in is allowed only if you are 65 and older.
65 and older, disabled, or out of the county. And like I said, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, the courts are going to clarify whether they're going to extend that right to anybody who chooses to vote by mail. And I certainly hope they do. So many states allow their citizens that choice. And I can't think of any reason that they wouldn't allow Texans that choice. I just saw an article this morning that indicated that in Wisconsin, you saw the pictures of the people standing in those long lines. At least 7 people who are standing in lines, and 1 election official has contracted COVID-19. And we don't want to put any of our Texans in harm's way. And if you feel comfortable going to vote, you should be able to do that. And if you don't feel comfortable, you ought to be able to vote by mail. And I certainly hope the court sees it that way.
And it might discourage people to come out if they see this news that they are getting contact.
Absolutely, especially older folks who are, a higher risk for contracting the virus. And we want the election results to reflect all our citizens and not just younger people or not any other category. We want everybody to feel comfortable to come out and vote.
Do you like to have an announcement of some kind which you wanted to, which you think is not covered yet, to know the viewers that you need to know about this for sure?
Well, I'll give a little bit of background. The United States is about 100th in the world in voter turnout. So there's 99 democracies where their citizens vote in bigger numbers than we do. And Texas is about 47th or 48th in voter turnout and registration in the nation. So Texas, in terms of engaging in our democracy, we're kind of just about the worst of the worst. And democracy is not supposed to work like that. The higher the turnout, the more representative the outcome. And with these runoffs in July, if 5 or 10% are going to determine for 95%, that's not very democratic. And we all have an obligation to be part of our nation's democracy and engage and understand the issues and the candidates. And we want government to move in the direction that the people want it to move in. And if most of us sit on the sidelines, that's just not possible.
Right. I think this is what I wanted to know, and I will conclude my this piece on runoff is that it's 50% of the vote if one candidate didn't get. Could you explain that again? Then the primary to that.
Yes, in the primary election, for the primary candidates to win, they have to get 50.1%, 50% plus 1 vote to be able to win outright. And anybody who doesn't get the 50%, and that's when you have 3 or more candidates in a primary, and somebody's got 40%, some's got 30%, some's got 20%. So the top 2 will go to a runoff, and then the runoff will be in July, and we'll make the decision between the top 2 candidates.
Great, thank you so much. And I'd like to conclude this piece by saying, average citizen duty is to participate and elect good candidate. And this election is very important. Every office bearer counts. Let's go out and vote, and please register if you haven't registered yet to vote. Thank you so much, Mr. Bruce, for your time.
Thank you. It's so good to see you, and please stay safe.
Yes, thanks.